So this is step 3. This is our orphanage. So after the worms mature in those grow out bins, we harvest them periodically in order to have them to sell to people. So when you guys come in and you want to do your composting or augment your garden, we have them here available to you. So what I'd love for you to do is to just come on in here, get close, grab a handful, and you'll see what a mature worm looks like in Arizona. All this is just a holding tank for the worms, and you're going to have to get your hands dirty. But that's what a full-size worm looks like in Arizona in the summertime. Good job. What's his name?
Squeaky.
Squeaky. Squeaky is a good name for a worm. And again, here you should see mostly mature worms. But this is where, when you're ready to come touch some worms, this is where we're going to send you. This is a place where there should be the highest density of outdoor worms available for you. This is what's called a continuous flow worm bin. And the reason that it's called that is that we add food to the top of this bin, and then about once a week we have, you can see there's a cutting bar at the bottom of this, and we run that cutting bar across once or twice or 3 times. The castings all fall to the bottom, and then we harvest the castings. The worms, these are composting worms. They're one of only 5 or 6 varieties of worms that operate in the top 4 inches of our soils. And they're about the only worms that you can raise in captivity, because the other worms like to burrow down deep for breeding and laying eggs. And so unless you have a 10 or a 20-foot bin, it's really hard to do. So the worms will move their way up. They'll follow the food. That's going to be a theme of everything that we talk about. But the worms will move up to the top 4 or 5 inches. That lets us slice off the bottom where there's practically no worms. Okay? So again, when you reach in here, you should start to see a fairly large number of composting worms. We raise only red wigglers here on the farm. We do our best to keep the breed as pure as possible. There are 4 kinds of worms that are typically used for composting. European night crawlers, which is a larger worm, and people fish with them all the time. The European night crawlers do great in our winter, but don't make it through our summer outdoors. African night crawlers, which are, again, that same size, they do great in our summers, but die off in our winters. There's a blue wiggler, which is a cousin to the red wiggler. And the reason that we don't raise blues is blues like to wander, and reds are lazy. Reds will stay where you put them, so we don't have to worry about them wandering off. And the ones that we raise are red wigglers. Their Latin name is Encenia fetida, and the fetida means they stink. That's their defense mechanism, so that when something comes and threatens it, they give off a slight odor, and that odor will actually chase away some animals. So if you were thinking about getting our red wigglers for fishing, it's a bad idea. Because when the fish comes close, they start to stink. Sometimes they'll take off. Okay?
I got one.
All right, any questions? Please.
Can they be mixed? Like the different?
Yes, worms won't interbreed, and you can put all of the breeds together in the same setting. Many farmers do that because you'll get a healthier mix of castings. Again, we've struggled with blues because they wander, and we don't have good, you'll see when we get out into our castings production area, we don't have good walls, and so we've stuck to reds and stayed pure to reds. But you can absolutely mix them together. They'll live fat and happy side by side, no issues at all. They won't interbreed, so you don't need to worry about that. It's not good or bad, they just won't.
I don't know which one, because they're both moving. Both sides are moving.
Yeah, so sometimes it's hard to tell. If it's an older worm, you'll start to see those 4 or 5 bands that get lighter, that tell you that it's ready to have a baby, and those will be towards the head. So you can always tell in a mature worm. In a baby worm, if it's really active, it's really hard to tell. Worms don't like light, and so they'll try and move out of the light as quickly as they can, and they'll move from both directions.
I'm giving them shade.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on to the next